What's up, everybody? Mark Drumheller here from the Sharp app with Dave Gleckner, Win Daily Sports, here to get you ready for football season, right? It's 56 days away, I want to say, somewhere in that range, but teams are going to start reporting to training camp, and it's going to get the juices flowing, right? And summertime is the perfect time to sit back, make your projections, make your numbers for the season, and fire in on some of these futures bets, because that is really the best part about the summertime is getting some of these bets before the season starts at very long, advantageous odds where you can get a nice payout at the end of the season. So, Dave, this is one of my favorite times of the year. I love going through the futures market, trying to pick off some big wins before the season. How are you enjoying your summer and starting to feel a little bit like football?
It is. You get this little dull period with the MLB All-Star game. We got these 2 days of no sports. I've been dying watching NBA Summer League, but you smell football on the horizon, right? You know it's coming, so you can be patient. You can take these calm days in because the storm is coming, and I can't wait. And like you, I love the futures market, play a lot of it, but I will say one of the biggest things, I don't like get my money stuck for a while, right? So if I'm going to do it, it's got to be worth the odds. I don't really like sitting there taking a minus 150, this and that. We're going to talk some long shot odds. We're going to talk some normal odds, but I think it's got to be worth your betting money to let it get stuck for a while.
Absolutely. So if you're going to hold this money over, it's going to be, in your account until, February when it gets paid out. You have to make it worth it, right? And that's why for me, I'm more likely to gravitate towards, the awards markets, those types of futures than actual win totals. I'll play some win totals, but, with these, you can put less money on them because you're getting longer odds on the return, right? So, you invest less money in, it's less money getting held up in your account, but you can still get the payout because of the odds that you're getting on the back end. So I really like it. And a lot of these markets are correlated. So it's strategically, it's a fun exercise every summer to go through it, right? Like, for example, if you like a team like, the Green Bay Packers, right? A team that I'm very high on, right? Instead of betting the Green Bay Packers win total, you want to look at, Jordan Love props. You want to look at Jordan Love in the awards market. You want to look at Mike LaFleur at 18-1 to win coach of the year, because if the Packers have success, he's going to be in the running for that type of award. Or, for instance, if you like, the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Look at Patrick Mahomes for MVP, that sort of thing. So all these markets are correlated. And I think it really sets us up as bettors to really take advantage of some of the numbers that are out there. But let's start with the MVP market. I know that you have a guy that you're dialed in on, a guy that I agree with, that I'm pretty much on that same page. So I'm going to let you lead it off on this one.
Yeah, I wrote an article recently for Win Daily Sports on my favorite MVP bets. And I have 4 of them out there, but my favorite of all is Jalen Hurts. Yes, I'm bleeding green, but hear me out for a second, right? He would have won MVP last year if he wasn't hurt for 2.5 games. There's no doubt in my mind. There are only 2 guys got an MVP first place votes outside of Mahomes. He got 48 of the 50. Hurts was 1. Josh Allen was 2. They each got 1 each. Can you think if the Eagles finished that year 16-1, does he get the MVP if he finishes out the full season? Absolutely. So we're talking about a guy that's only getting better and then actually outshine Mahomes in the Super Bowl. And they might need a little more out of him this year with some of the pieces that were lost. So I think Hurts is a great play. He's 5th on the board in a lot of markets, 12-1. I mean, DraftKings has 1,100. I've found 12 in some markets. So look deep. Caesars had 12. I think it's a great number to get a young guy, right? That's the other thing I like about betting this bet. A guy that will literally, likely stay healthy, minus what he did last year. But one of the younger guys, you take a lot of faith that he can stay healthy. So all the good things, and I don't think the Eagles fall down this year. That's the other big thing. I think they're going to be one of the top 2 teams in the NFC. So you're taking someone at the top, and you got a really good chance because he could have won last year, and he's only getting better.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So I think that the most attractive thing about the Philadelphia Eagles is the conference that they play in, them being in the NFC. I think is very important, when you look at them and the national attention that they're going to get, because if they are dominating from start to finish, it's going to be, hey, people are going to start looking at the Eagles in terms of, the way they look at the Chiefs in the AFC, right? This is not a 1-year wonder. This is a team that's going to be at the top for a long time. And that's going to make Jalen Hurts look even better. So I like it. I haven't bet anything in the MVP market, but I like to say this every year, and I think this is something that bettors should really think about. When you have a dominating player like Patrick Mahomes, a guy who is crowned to be the next, could possibly be the most talented player that we ever seen on a football field. And I think if you talk to the average person or even, the sharpest sports bettor, they're going to tell you the odds of the Chiefs winning more Super Bowls are probably likely, with Mahomes at the helm, which means
Mhm.
probably more MVPs for a guy like Patrick Mahomes, right? So if you invest in a player like that, right, it's 7-1 this year with Patrick Mahomes. You can keep firing off on Mahomes every single year, and as long as he wins more than once in the
Yeah.
next 7 years, as long as you're still getting these numbers, you're gonna make out.
Yeah, I do think there could be some better, well, voter fatigue, let's say, with Patrick
Mm-hmm.
Mahomes too. Watch out. I mean, we all saw the Jokic Embiid story go to Embiid's way this year. Rightfully so. I'd say no after watching what Jokic did in the playoffs, right? Jokic probably should have won 3 in a row. So that's another reason to maybe look at someone outside Mahomes. I get if you bet Mahomes. You have every reason to, right? But I think there could be some fatigue, and you could see a guy. And if you want to look at a guy in the AFC, I'm leaning more towards Burrow. I think Allen's been a little bit too erratic these past few years, and with Diggs' stories, I think Burrow is the one that I would take outside Mahomes in the AFC.
Yeah, I'm worried about Josh Allen's health.
I
And,
am too.
it's funny because I'm going to follow it up with telling you why, Tua is live to win the MVP. And he's probably, a much greater health concern than Josh Allen. But, the issue I have with the Bills this year and the issue I have with Josh Allen is that he's their best running back. And they need him to run they need him to run the football more than any other team needs their quarterback to run the football. And it's, and those injuries are just going to continue to pile up as he gets older and older in his career. So I'm interested to see how this year plays out. I thought that they would do much more to help the offensive line, to help the running game, to kind of balance things out there so they didn't have to lean on him all the time. And it's not just about carries, it's about carries in high leverage situations, right? So if they have to go to him, if he has to run the ball on third downs and those types of plays, majority of the time he's not getting out of bounds because they're high leverage plays. The defense is flying at them, they're being aggressive, that sort of thing. So I definitely don't like Allen. I think you look at Tua, Lamar Jackson, 14 to 16 to 1. Both have upside. That Miami Dolphins offense, if Tua is healthy, is going to be rocket fuel. They've added so much speed. They have Waddle, they have Hill, they added Berrios who can fly to play in the
And
slot. They
chosen.
added
And the
right,
chosen
yeah,
one.
Chosen Anderson, right, and most importantly, like Devon Kane from Texas A&M.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
the
Love him.
guy. Yeah, he's the guy. I mean, he's like Chris Johnson. So, like,
Mhm.
putting him in the mix, in that offense. And not only that, but you have a coach in Mike McDaniel that is going to be able to utilize a guy like a Chain who can, really have a huge impact on the game. Like,
Yeah.
he's like Percy Harvin, Chris Johnson kind of hybrid. So I can't wait to see what he's able to do with him. And I think, listen, obviously, it all rides on Tua's health. If you don't believe Tua can make it through the season, then it's not a bet for you. But if you do believe he can make it through the season, I think it makes all the sense in the world.
I love that we're talking this real quick. I wrote an article in the AFC East, and I'm all in on the Dolphins. We didn't talk
Mm-hmm.
offline before this. I think they are a special team. That's the most talented team in that division, but it all revolves around Tua. So I'm with you. I like Tua's odds, but even better, I like the Dolphins to win that division at plus 300. I think Buffalo's
Mm-hmm.
got a really tough schedule. I'm not believing in the Jets fully. I think they're good enough to challenge for a wild card. But those Dolphins, they could be special this year.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. MVP stuff, obviously a lot of good names out there, but I think we hit some good ones. We got Jalen Hurts. We talked about Pat Mahomes a little bit. Guys we don't like. Josh Allen we're staying away from. And then, of
Yep.
course, Tua, health pending, but with all good bets come risk, right? If there wasn't risk, it wouldn't be a wager. I don't know if you can just make the assumption that he's not going to hold up. He has had the whole off season to recover, to not being hit or whatnot. We know, this stuff is touchy. You might think guy
Yep.
might be great for 2 years and then all of a sudden takes a shot and it all comes back. But, we all want Tua to stay healthy, but I agree with you. That offense is going to be fire when he's on the field because there is just so much speed. It's going to cause a lot of defenses, a lot of problems. But let's move on a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about offensive and defensive rookie of the year. We'll start with a guy that I think we're on opposite ends of, Anthony Richardson of the Colts, one of the favorites because of his athleticism, because of his, polarizing skill set that he brings to the NFL. And I think it's a buy. I mean, I bet Richardson a little of 7-1. I think it makes sense here. I think the Colts are a team that's live to win that division. I think Jacksonville is a very vulnerable favorite in the AFC South. The offensive line is going to be worse. It wasn't good last year. The defense is still a pretty big question mark. And the Colts have a real simple schedule. But I like the fact that Richardson gets paired up with Steichen, who has experience developing Hurts, right? So he's going to implement, a good offense that takes advantage of his skills. I'm not sold on Anthony Richardson's career as an NFL quarterback. There's a lot to be determined. There's a lot that he's going to have to improve. But I think in this situation, in his first year, he has the wheels. He has the athleticism. We saw last year with Justin Fields. You don't have to be an efficient passer to put up monster numbers and to have a huge impact on these games. And I think that that's where Richardson's going to win, is he's going to have those highlight reel electric plays. The guy has a cannon for an arm, so he's going to be taking big shots down the field, and he's going to be doing a lot on the ground with his wheels. And I think that might be enough to get him the votes.
Now, listen, I love Richardson. I think even maybe we're flipped on what I think he's got a better long-term projection than he does short-term. We all heard it at the draft. He's a project. He's going to have to take some time. And I'm just not going to bite the bait that he's going to be the starter out of the gate. I think they will give it to Minshew based upon Minshew's kind of standing with Steichen. I mean, he came from Philly just like Steichen. And look, I know you hate Minshew. I'm not the biggest a fan either, but I just feel like they're going to ease this Richardson in. And I'm with you. Jacksonville is absolutely a no bet for me in that division. They were 3-14 the year before and won last year. They came out of nowhere. That division, someone's coming out of nowhere, and the Colts are live. I just think it's going to take some time with a lot of the new pieces they have. It's not just, on offense, on defense too. They have some holes. I love Richard. I just think it's going to take a little time. So for me, I like the best receiver as offensive rookie of the year. I'm going Jackson Smith-Njigba, and a few reasons why. He's got the big guy, DK Metcalf, to take a lot of coverages off him. He's still got Tyler Lockett, but this kid is special. And we've seen Ohio State receivers shine. We saw one win the Rookie of the Year last year in Garrett Wilson. And here we go. Seattle is live in that division. They're going to be an offensive,
I think
don't want
so
to say
too,
juggernaut, but they're going to be good. And I think Geno's going to find a way to get him the ball. I don't trust Tyler Lockett can make it through 16 games, by the way. I think Smith-Njigba is the number 2 very early on. And I think he's got a lot of opportunity to break some open and really win this award. So I'm leaning, that's my bet. He's 700, 800 in some markets, but I hear you on Richardson. I get it. He's got the most upside. I just don't know if he'll start right away. That's my concern.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Hawks. I think the Hawks are live in that division too. I think they're +2 something. You get them right there, +300, somewhere in that range. I just think the 49ers very vulnerable. I like, I wrote up Pete Carroll, Coach of the Year, 20-1. It's a little bit of a long shot just because you're not going to see the mass improvement in the win column, but he's a guy who hasn't won Coach of the Year yet, despite his decorated career. And I wonder that if San Francisco does falter, the quarterback situation doesn't work out, Purdy reverts to Iowa State, Brock Purdy, and, Sam Darnold is just Sam Darnold, right? They're a team that could fall off. Seattle sneaks up there and improves from a 9-win team to a 12-win team and wins that division. Does the media kind of rally around Pete if it's another year where Seattle is better than Russell Wilson, team out in Denver? And does he kind of get that momentum from the voters where they almost give it to him as, I don't want to say like a sympathy thing, but more just based on his whole career than the actual improvement he does in a year. Not my favorite Coach of the Year bet, like Mike LaFleur. I think I think Steichen at 25-1 makes a lot of sense if the Colts can get up there. But I do think Pete Carroll is probably worth a little bit of a sprinkle, and Seattle's a team to watch out for. Also, watch out for Dalton Kincaid on the Bills. They're going to do a lot of fun things with him in the slot. If Buffalo is the prolific offense that they've been the past couple of years, he obviously is going to put up enough numbers to get consideration. You get him at like 30-1. Defensive Rookie Player of the Year, Dave. I like a couple people, man. Jalen Carter here in Philadelphia for obvious reasons. One of the most talented players, to come out of that class, steps into a position, a void filled by Javon Hargrave. where he got 11 sacks last year playing in this defense. Now you turn the defense over to Sean Desai, who's going to be more aggressive, right? So we're going to see more of an attacking defense here in Philadelphia than we saw last year. And the Eagles already led the NFL in sacks by more than 15 sacks, 70 sacks on the season, 55 sacks, but I think Kansas City was the second team. And, so now you put him in a defense surrounded by guys who got double-digit sacks, right? 4 linemen on the Eagles had double-digit sacks last year. 5 had 7 or more. When I think Fletcher Cox was the guy who had 7. You kind of roll him into the mix. So he's going to be around a ton of talent. He's going to get a ton of opportunity around a ton of veteran players that are going to bring him along and also, warrant command and respect and attention when they're on the field, which is going to give him a lot of one-on-one matchups and give him an opportunity to cause havoc. So I like Jalen Carter there. And I also like Miles Murphy. I think that the Bengals are not going anywhere. They're going to be a top team in the AFC. And it's the same sort of situation, right? So, he joins a defensive line with Sam Hubbard, with Trey Hendrickson with a high profile team like the Bengals, who are going to be the talk of the AFC all season because of their rivalry with the Chiefs. So I think if he, racks up some sacks, I think he's going to get a lot of attention. And he's a guy at 30-1 that I think, is definitely worth taking a shot on.
So you said all I needed to say, so I'll just go quick. Nolan Smith, plus 1,600. I think for all the reasons you like Jalen Carter, I like Nolan Smith. I'll just add this part. Like you said, aggressive defense, good opportunities to get a lot of sacks. I just love the way the kid is trying to learn everything right now. He's trying to absorb it. He's trying to find Hassan Reddick and just take all that knowledge from him and try and just be that edge rusher that Reddick was, surprisingly, for the Eagles last year. And I just think the kid has the right mindset. So, like Nolan Smith. And listen, I'm going to go out to Vegas too. And I like Tyree Wilson. And when you could put him on edge there and rush alongside Crosby's still there, right?
Yep.
Big Max, you compare them together. I think they can get at the quarterback. So I think Tyree Wilson has a good chance to at plus 900.
Yeah, listen, I think the Raiders, that was probably one of the only things they did right this offseason.
They're bad.
Drafted that guy. But, I think it could be a tough year. Yeah, they could end up with Caleb. I took them under 5.5 wins at like plus 180, which, I take the alt on the totals. Any, other futures you like, any divisions, divisional bets you think people should, look out for before we wind up and get up out of here?
Yeah, and we talked about them. I guess you just did a little bit. And I'm going to tell you, there's a bunch out there, and keep an eye on Win Daily Sports are releasing a division article twice a week. And one of the ones that I really like right now, we could go so many different places, but I'll go with the Cincinnati Bengals. And you would say, oh, well, they've won the last 2 years. Yes, but we have the rising Baltimore Ravens with all that talent that they had with Odell Beckham, Zay Flowers. And then, don't sleep on Cleveland, just, with the full year of Deshaun Watson. They did some things with offense, too, that I think has gotten them a little better. And Pittsburgh, a lot of people are high on. I'm not. But some people think because of their rise at the second half of last season that they're going to be a factor. And you're sleeping on the Bengals a little bit. At plus 150, I think it's a great spot. To win that bet, you have to be right 40% of the time. You're telling me that, they're not better than a 3-2 to win that division. I just think this team is getting better each year. They lost 4 games last year by 3 points or less. 4. Last 2 years, they've lost to the eventual Super Bowl champion. Obviously, the Rams. Last year, the Chiefs, which you can still scratch your head and question how they lost that game. Might have done some zebras, some favors there, but they're tough, man. They're tough to beat. They've only lost by double digits once in the past 2 years. They're only getting better. So at plus 150, really like that bet.
Yeah, I like it. I think the AFC is just going to be fascinating to watch this year. There are just so many good teams. Like you look at the East, you have Buffalo, you have the Jets, who I think the Jets are solid. Like I think if Tua is not healthy and goes down early, that obviously sabotages the Dolphins. I think the Jets have a chance to win that division. I'm that down on the Bills. Not that the Bills are going to be a losing team, but like, I don't think the Bills are winning that division. I think it's going to be Miami or New York, depending on Tua's health. And if I had to bet it, I would bet Miami. But
I don't mind Mike White. by the way. I don't mind Mike White as a backup.
I do.
I think they did. Yeah, I think that it was better than last year.
Yeah.
I forget what the dude's name
I think
was.
they need it. Yeah. At that point, I would probably just throw Tyreek Hill back there and snap it to him and let him go. But listen, the AFC North loaded. Like I love
Yeah,
Cleveland this year. I love
I
the
think they're going to
Ravens
be
and I
better.
love the
Yeah,
Bengals. Like I think they're
yeah.
all going to be better. And I think that that's a division that might. I think some of these divisions, like even the AFC East, we talked about it, and the AFC North, I think is really just going to come down to health. And it sounds like a cop out from a betting perspective because we can't project injuries, but that's usually how these divisions go when these teams are so evenly matched. But everything being equal, I like the Bengals, but I think that I wouldn't be surprised if 3 out of the top 5 teams come from that division.
I agree. And here's why I don't do Baltimore. And the only reason is I love what they did, bringing in the guy from Georgia, the offensive coordinator,
Monken,
Monken.
Todd
And
Monken. Yep.
it's just a lot of pieces. They play 3 division road games in the first 5 weeks. They play a tough schedule early and have all these new pieces. But I think the best bet for Baltimore is to win the AFC. I like that bet better than them winning the AFC North. I think it's going to take time, and they're going to start turning up by about.
They could be like a live
October.
wild card team towards the end of the season. That makes sense. I just get worried about their health. Like
I do.
Like Beckham's not young. Like they have some good young players there, but they just seem to always get banged up. So I kind of worry about that. Like I think if they're healthy, they're going to be as good as anybody. But I think you can say that about a handful of teams in the AFC. But definitely a lot of fun. Real quick, before we get out of here, I just want to get your thoughts because I feel like I'm on a little bit of an island on here. What are your thoughts on Denver?
I think Denver's the second place team in the AFC West. I think Russell Wilson would be my comeback player of the year. You could bet it about, I think I saw 20-1. Don't hold me to it, but
I think it's a little shorter now. I think, you know what? Peyton's shorter. Peyton's like 11-1, 12-1 to win coach of the year, which will probably happen if they're decent.
I think they're going to be a tough team. Like, remember last year, if they would have only scored like 19 points a game, I think they made the playoffs. They're going to score 19 points a game, and they didn't do much different on defense. They're actually probably even a little better. I'm high on Denver. Maybe I'm off. Where are you?
Yeah, I don't believe it at all. Now, listen, I think they'll be better. They won 5 games last year, but I think they'll probably be like an 8-9 team. I don't think Russell Wilson is ever going to be the Russell Wilson he was in Seattle. He doesn't have DK Metcalf to throw to, right? He doesn't have those types of players there. And I love Jerry Jeudy coming out of college, but I don't think they have the playmakers that Seattle had. And I also don't think that Sean Payton is this quarterback whisperer. How many years did we watch the Saints during the end with Drew Brees and just being like, they can't win with this guy? And Peyton would sit there and bang it. Like Peyton didn't have any pixie dust to fix that. Like they just didn't win games. You know what I mean? So, he's out there trotting out Taysom Hill and stuff. Now I think he's a good coach and they're going to be better. But I don't believe that we're ever getting the old prime Russell Wilson back. And I don't know. I'm interested to see like how good the defense really is when the offense isn't holding the ball for half of the game to score 3 points. You know what I mean? Like they were not on the field because the offense is like sputtering around, kicking field goals with these 20-play drives. So I just don't, I'm just not buying it. And I could be wrong. Like maybe Sean Payton comes in there like Parcells used to do back in the day, and whatever team he touches, they turn into a winner. But I just think that like, I got to see it. Like, I'm not 100% sold that's what happens here. I think Russell Wilson, I'm not going to say cooked, but I think that he's probably not a top 15 quarterback anymore.
Oh, I agree with that. But in a division when there's Brandon Staley and Josh McDaniels still, I trust Peyton.
I like the Chargers. I like they went out and got more. I think they're very talented. They had 1 trillion injuries last year. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not going to have 1 trillion injuries this year.
They can't kick them straight. Bro, they can't get in between the posts.
They can't. Field goals are no good. And mentally, how they bounce back from last year, it's going to be tough. But I would rather invest in a team that I feel like has high upside like the Chargers. If everything goes right, they have a high ceiling, than a team like Denver that I think is going to try and win games with smoke and mirrors. And, like the answer, it's just some of the things coming out of there. Like the answer seems to be like, well, we're going to run the ball more. That's how we're going to help Wilson. And I'm like, Not in this day and
I'm
age.
not
Not
letting
with
him
Patrick
cook.
Mahomes and Justin Herbert in your division. You're not running the ball. Like,
But bro,
you know,
they got Ben DiNucci if we need it.
you
Don't they? I'm pretty sure.
couldn't
I
even
think that's
couldn't even beat the DC defenders when he needed to. Come on, man.
my man.
But listen, had a blast, dude. We're gonna wrap up now, guys. Football season is going to be right around the corner. Make sure you download the Sharp app, hop in the Discord. The Discord's free. Get in there, chop it up. We got professional handicappers in there every day, firing bets, whatever, every single sport, you name it. We got KBO bets hitting in the Discord. We got everything going. There's never a dull moment. Hop in there. Join the Sharp app. There's a ton of tools. We have our AI predictions model. We have our Proptimizer. We have prize picks videos every day boosting everybody's bankroll. So get involved. Follow the Sharp app on Twitter if you're watching now. Like and subscribe the video. Like and subscribe the channel. And make sure you get in that Discord. That's how it all starts. Hop in the Discord. Start asking questions. You'll get answers. So you're all ready to make some money during football season. But thanks for having me. Mark Drumheller, Dave Gleckner. We'll see you guys next time.